What's going on, bottom line viewers? Slightly annoyed Dylan Villa is on the stream here. Dilly here for Week 3 Pittsburgh Steelers versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers recap. We weren't able to do the live stream as promised. I apologize to people, to everybody out there that wanted that live stream for the Steelers Bucs. We kind of got off guard with stuff and weren't able to do that. So I apologize for everybody who was looking forward to that stream. We'll have a stream next week. I'm hoping that it's the Steelers and the Ravens. I have not confirmed that, but that's the game I'm hoping for next week on Sunday Night Football. But I know people were looking forward to that stream. It just didn't happen because of scheduling issues. So apologies to that. I'm the only one on the stream tonight, only one on the recap. So I know I'm going to have to preface that probably 3 or 4 more times, but I'm the only one on the stream tonight. So I will be giving you this recap of a very fun and interesting Steelers and Buccaneers game. Coming into this game, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers who were in a little bit of turmoil. Why wasn't, what's the situation with Le'Veon Bell? Is he going to be traded? The rumors were coming out that they were looking at trades. Now that they officially were, they were like before, they're like, nah, we're not going to do it. Now that they were, all the situation with that was James Conner going to step up again. Antonio Brown didn't show up to work last Monday. What was going on with the Steelers organization? Were they going to bounce back? The Buccaneers, they had Fitzmagic coming in off 2 very, very great starts to start off the year. Really good games, really impressive, 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in both of those games. So he was doing fantastic. Was he going to be able to keep the magic with one more game before Jameis Winston comes back? He comes back to work tomorrow morning, as they brought up about 5 million times on air tonight. So there was a lot of questions coming into this game, and we got a very fun one to watch. Early on, we saw the Buccaneers come out well with a nice opening drive, touchdown by Ryan Fitzpatrick to Cameron Brate. It looked like the Buccaneers offense was ready to roll and that they were going to continue this hot stream. And then Big Ben stepped up in a big way, had a huge first half, and had a really, really good game. Overall, 30 for 38, 353 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. He did a very good job of leading the way, and he looked like prime Big Ben. It was always obviously, there's pressure in the pocket. He's going to roll out, make some good throws, and the one in the coffin, the Juju Smith-Schuster throw. Don't know why I have Big Ben was looking very healthy, and he led the charge today for the Steelers because the rushing was not all that good, honestly. James Conner had 15 rushes for 61 yards. A little over 4 a carry. The biggest contribution for him in this game was the end of the game when he had some very nice runs to the outside that got them a little less time off the clock to help them out in the quest to end that game for them. Receiving wise, obviously, put your comments below. I will look at the stream or the chat every once in a while here as we go on in this recap. The Pittsburgh receiving, Juju Smith-Schuster led the way with 9 catches on 116 yards. He looks like actually the best receiver right now. I know AB's better, but he's looking like the #1 target for Big Ben, and he has come up in big ways this season especially. He had a very good game. Vance McDonald, who I dropped in favor of getting Jesse James, is very fucking ironic, but I didn't start Jesse James, so it's not like the end of the world. Vance McDonald, 4 catches, 112 yards on a touchdown. That long 75-yard touchdown where he stiff-armed the defender. Oh, it was nasty. Definitely a big contributor. The biggest thing for me is I'm seeing that the tight ends are having a bigger spot for Big Ben. Obviously, he went to go to Heath Miller a lot back in the day, but he has this 2 tight end set where now McDonald and Jesse James look like they're good tight ends. So definitely something to look forward to as a nice little third contribution for Big Ben. Antonio Brown, 6 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Not AB numbers, but still pretty good. That touchdown that he had on the outside was a very good burn on Brett Grimes. So AB was doing his job enough. Him and Big Ben did miscommunicate a couple of times, but they were still able to get the job done. Connor had 5 catches for 34 yards. James Washington had 2 big catches. And Ryan Switzer, the former Dallas Cowboy, got a touchdown, his first receiving touchdown of his career. Was bobbling a little bit near the end zone, but he did end up with the catch. So good for him. There was a couple of fumbles by Big Ben, but he recovered it. And yeah, that's about it there. Let's actually go to the comments here. It was a very fun game, by the way. If this wants to load here. Oh, it's a chat. Okay. Sebastian Mitch is not going to be here. because he has other things. You just wasn't able to watch the game. Robot says, who was garbage tonight, if anybody? Who was garbage? And that's an interesting question. Well, let's see here. There wasn't anybody particularly garbage. Fitzpatrick did play a little bit garbage in the first half. It didn't look like he was going to done. The rushing game for Tampa Bay is garbage. I know they don't have Ronald in there for some fucking reason. I don't really know. But Peyton Barber, 8 carries, 33 yards. Fitzpatrick had almost as many yards. Think about that. A 35-year-old quarterback. That's definitely not a mobile QB. I almost had as much rushing yards as Peyton Barber. I know he only had 8 carries, but still. Their rushing game is horrific. Godwin did have a costly fumble, and he dropped a ball or two, but he did make up for it with a nice touchdown catch. So I would say the rushing game, if anything, was the worst thing. Jordan says he's not the number one. AB's getting all the attention since there's no Le'Veon. I'm saying he's the number one look at for Big Ben. Like, I know AB's the number one guy, but Juju Smith-Schuster's getting a lot more opportunities there, and he's making the best out of it. Big Ben loves a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster. Like, their connection last year was very good. That's why he got all those yards. But now he's getting more targets, and at the slot position, which he was about half the time doing last year, but he's had a lot more time in slot this year. Most of his snaps come on slot. I think it's been a good contribution because he's just such a tall and skinny guy and worked the field. Redman says Josh Conner was trash besides that 27-yard run. But he did seal the game, though. Like, it was a bad game. It was not a great game for either rushing side, but it got the job done. So, if anything, that was one thing. And let's talk about Kay Cavalli's, I think that's how you say it, one's comment. There were too many goddamn penalties in this game. I was very entertained by this game, but penalties really ruin everything when they just come up every freaking second. Oh, my God. There was 4 roughing the passer penalties. One that was so stupid where it hit the top of Big Ben's head. I'm like, you kidding me? Like, really? And then they almost had one for Casey Hayward for literally just touching Fitzpatrick. It was insane. They picked it up. But it's become a parody at the first 3 weeks. And I'm just going to bring this up now because what happened with Clay Matthews again this week was even worse than the call against Kirk Cousins. If you play in the NFL, how in the hell are you supposed to take your weight off of somebody when you're trying to tackle them? It's impossible, right? What I guess they're wanting to do is like, even if you're trying to grab them from this side and then put their weight, is that a penalty? Like, I don't understand how you're supposed to do that. And this is obviously by people these are obviously by referees and people that have never played football a day in their life. Like, they've watched it, obviously. They know how to ref it, but they've never played it because, again, this is minor league shit compared to the NFL, but just saying as a linebacker that used to play, when you're trying to tackle somebody, you don't really think, oh, I need to lay him down very gently in order not to get this penalty. No, you sack the quarterback so it can be the next down. You're trying to get them to lose those yardage. There's nothing about, all right, we need to protect them. I mean, we're not going to obviously go head to helmet, helmet to helmet cheap shots. I understand when those penalties get called, but like, these penalties are ridiculous this year, especially with Clay Matthews' hit yesterday on Alex Smith. The weight thing will never get fixed. It will never get solved, and nobody is ever going to be fixed. We're going to have like a record amount of penalties if this shit continues. So I'm not a fan of it. I understand they're trying to protect the quarterback, but it's not going to work in this case because of all the negative stuff that's going on with it. And there's a lot of negative backlash for it. NFL tried to defend it today, but they were defending it because it was in the playbook. Like, it's already there, so they're going to defend what's in the playbook, not what it should be. So I really hate that. There was a lot of penalties otherwise, and that's what really hurt Pittsburgh going forward. They had 13 penalties, I believe, which is now 37 on the season. 37 in 3 games. That's got to stop, and obviously halts an offense. Big Ben was able to get it done, but just having so many penalties, it's not going to work. But the biggest penalty came from who was it? If anybody wants to remind me, it was on a Deshaun Jackson huge punt return for a touchdown. It was like an 84-yard punt return for a touchdown, but it was called back for holding, which fucking sucks because there was 30-20 with like 8.5 minutes left in the game. If that goes through, they're down by 3 with more than half a quarter to go. So there's a lot of time to make that play. But then they had to go down and get a long drive, and it just took a longer time to get it done. And then they did stop the Steelers after that, but they weren't able to score once again, which led to them running out the clock. So huge penalty on that. That was on the Tampa Bay side. But, yeah, going forward, Sebastian says, what was your reaction to the Vikings losing the Bills? I was not expecting it whatsoever. Bills looked really bad in the first two games, but I guess Josh Allen has been a little bit of a spark. He had a great game yesterday. I got to give him credit. That run that he had in particular with the hurdle, that was awesome. But Isaiah Johnson, okay, you're right, robot guy. Isaiah Johnson, huge penalty on him. But yes, going back to Sebastian's comment, Josh Allen played a good game. I think Vikings just they underreacted, there you go, to the Bills. I think they overestimated them. And we're just going off like, oh, this is another week. We tied with the Packers, but we're very confident in this game. And it didn't come out to win because Kirk Cousins had a great game against the Packers and then had a pretty shitty one with 3 fumbles. Like that's not going to work. So I think what it is that it was just a very bad week. Zimmer's going to come in and say, hey, let's quit this shit. We need to treat everybody like they're an actual NFL opponent because they are an NFL team. They've gotten to this point for a reason because they're actually athletes. They're really good. And they can do it. So, bad loss for the Vikings, but I think they'll bounce back. Bam Bam Los, whatever. Reaction to Patriots losing the Lions. Now, this was an interesting one. I didn't get to watch this game because I was at the Gambino concert, but I did hear about it. I watched a little bit of the highlights, and, man, it's rough. It's rough out there for the Patriots. The defense, again, continues to be a huge no-no. Like, it's a very bad thing to see this defense. It's horrific. Unless your name's Stephon Gilmore, I just don't understand what you're doing on defense. Offensively, with a great quarterback like Tom Brady, you would think he would lead these situations. But the throws are so short, and you're not going to Gronk often enough. And it was a really weird game on offense. Sonny Michel was losing yards when they really should have just gone to Burkhead at certain points. And it really just didn't click. The chemistry was not there. Everybody's going to talk about, oh, is this over? Is this over? Again, we've seen the Patriots come off to incredibly slow starts. I expected the game last week because of the Jaguars and how good their defense was. I was not expecting last night's game, and that gets me a little bit worried. But like I said, last year they started off incredibly slow. They went to the Super Bowl. That one year that they played the Chiefs on Monday Night Football in Week 5, I think they were 2-3. They ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. So it happens. Am I going to say those two things are going to happen again? No, because honestly, I'm lower on the Patriots this year than I was in any other year that I've been on this channel. But one second. But yeah, it definitely just doesn't look like a good situation right now. And I think they need to regroup. And we'll see where it goes from there. They play the Dolphins, who are 3-0 and in their division. So that's not a good way to try to come and bounce back. Like, a lower-ranked team would have helped them in this situation for next week. But this is also going to be a good test because if they win, they show they got confidence. They're going to go forward, and they can beat the best of their own division. So, by the way, Ryan Tannehill, what is he doing, bro? He's off his mind right now. Let's look at the offensive side for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really haven't gotten into them. Fitzpatrick, 30 for 50, so obviously that's 60% completion percentage. 411 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. This was a weird game for Fitzpatrick. It was a tale of two halves, if you will, because the first half, he had a really great drive in the first drive of the game, like I said earlier. But as it continued, there was just some really bad flaws that it was hard because they were hurting themselves with some big penalties, and they weren't getting it done in the red zone. They had a touchdown, 2 field goals, and a pick in the red zone through 2.5 quarters. So it really wasn't getting it done. The first pick was not on him. There was pressure, but it hit off the guy's helmet. It was just one of those jump balls, and Steelers got it. Second one was a miscommunication between him and Mike Evans. That's about 50-50 on whether you want to go with Fitzpatrick should have thrown more on line with Evans or Evans should have continued the route. And the third one was bad on him because he was in his own end zone. Bud Dupree just kind of read the option and ran it in for a pick 6. So you could say about 1.5 of those were really his fault, but he still wasn't playing the great Fitzmagic game that he had. And then all of a sudden, starting off the second half, it was like the momentum was trying to come in for Fitzmagic. He wanted to go out there, do it again, and he led away with some pretty awesome drives. My number one contribution to him was throwing it to O.J. Howard because even though Mike Evans had a great game, as he should, but O.J. Howard had a great game tonight because he was throwing in certain situations, and Fitzpatrick would go, all right, I know where O.J. Howard's going to be. Boom, in the middle for 15 yards. Solid pickups, and always got the job done. Mike Evans, great game as well. 6 catches, 137 yards, and touchdown. His touchdown catch was the reason why Fitzpatrick trusts a guy like Mike Evans. He's like, all right, I know I got Mike Evans one-on-one. I haven't gone to him a lot tonight in the one-on-one coverage. I'm going to throw a bomb to him. He does. He gets a touchdown. Well done by both of them. Chris Godwin, 5 catches, 74 yards, and a touchdown. He did have a big drop in the end zone early on in the game, but he did have a nice touchdown catch in that fourth quarter to give them an opportunity to come back. So good stuff there. I talked about O.J. Howard. Big disappointment from Deshaun Jackson. He only had 1 target in the first half, ended up with 3 catches and 37 yards. Not a great game for him. Cameron Brate, 3 catches, 34 yards in that first quarter touchdown. So good stuff for him. And Godwin obviously fumbled as well, which gave a little bit of momentum to the Steelers. Let's talk about the defenses a little bit for the Buccaneers. Brent Grimes came back. He struggled quite a bit. I like what Vinny Curry did tonight. Got some pressure on Ben Roethlisberger. Jason Pierre-Paul was a big name. We heard a lot tonight. He also did very well. I believe he also got a sack here as well. Yeah, he got 2 sacks tonight, so he did very well, getting some stuff done. Gerald McCoy, the guy that was on Mike tonight, obviously their big defensive lineman, he did very well. Their secondary was decent. It wasn't great, but Levante David played well also. Let's go to the Steelers defense, which was not very good tonight, but Bostic had a great play. He also helped out in that interception, but he had a very good game today. Sensabaugh is not a guy that I like very much. Burns had a good bounce-back game. It wasn't the greatest in the world, but compared to last week where he got burned quite a bit, Burns, whatever, it's a good joke. He got burned quite a bit in that last game. He did very good to bounce back. Bud Dupree had pick 6, so he did well. And the biggest thing for me for the Steelers is that you got to have more control because, again, the quarterback threw 3 touchdowns on you. Like he threw another 3 touchdowns, which they said was the most in this 3-game stretch was the most touchdowns that the Steelers have given up in a 3-game stretch in their franchise history for passing touchdowns. It was crazy. Not something I would want to look forward to as a Steelers fan is just seeing these quarterbacks coming out there, boom, big throws, boom, big throws. Again, even with the rough start, Fitzpatrick had 411 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, really? He's the first quarterback to have 400 yards in 3 straight games. Crazy. Fitzpatrick, will he keep the job? I think he will. I don't know if they've confirmed that yet, but first of all, Winston is just coming back tomorrow. He hasn't played football in forever, so even getting him used to getting back into the system is going to take a couple of weeks. So Fitzpatrick should have, regardless of how he played tonight, was going to play for at least a couple more weeks. And second, Fitzpatrick still played pretty well. Like at the end of it, it was a rough start. It got him in a hole, but he was able to create some good stuff in the offense and made some really nice throws. Because the biggest thing that I see that Fitzpatrick does with this Buccaneers offense is that when he has time in the pocket, when he has a good 3 or 4 seconds once he snaps back to adjust, he can make really good throws. But when he's under pressure, it's a different story. This is a guy that's not really the mobile QB, like I said, like a Cam Newton or anything like that. He's far from it. But he's a guy that likes to take the deep shots and go for it. He didn't do it to Deshaun Jackson tonight, but he did with Mike Evans and had some good long throws to O.J. Howard, which I like to see, and I hopefully will continue to see out of the Buccaneers offense. But he was taking those deep shots on those first 2 games because he was able to settle in. And the biggest thing for the Pittsburgh defense, the only good thing I will say about the Pittsburgh defense is their defensive line. Their defensive line put in a lot of pressure, and when they were able to connect with Fitzpatrick, they got 3 sacks tonight, which doesn't look great on paper. It's not the most amazing stat line tonight, but it was the reason why Fitzpatrick had to make some uncomfortable throws and some throws that we saw earlier on in the season, or I should say week 1 and 2. It's not that long. Week 1 and 2 that he did make. So good on the Steelers D-line to get it done, but Fitzpatrick still played a pretty good game, all things considered. The biggest star for me tonight, though, is not Fitzmagic. It was Big Ben Roethlisberger. He had a lot of turnovers in those first 2 games, and it really concerned me personally. Not personally, if it's a football level. It concerned me as a viewer. There you go. Watching these games and seeing Ben Roethlisberger make really bad bad mistakes and bad fumbles, bad costly turnovers, and it was not going to help them in the long run. Tonight, he looked like Big Ben. He looked like clutch Big Ben. He was terrific on third down in this game. I think he was 6 of 7, somewhere around that. Actually, let me look at the team stats here. I don't want to say anything that's not true here. We say third down efficiency was 3 of 11. That can't be right. I don't think that's right. He was still very good on third down. He was able to make some very good throws, especially in that second half. He was very good at making the right plays, and obviously came up in a big way. 353 passing yards. Not a lot of those going to AB. He's going to other guys. He got a lot to Vance McDonald on that 75-yard touchdown. It was a good throw that Vance only had to make one man beat, and that nice stiff arm got the job done. Juju Smith-Schuster is a guy that's going to stretch the field and make these big, long, elaborate plays. Their tight ends, I think, like Jesse James. He only got one target tonight, but I think he's going to do very well for them going forward. And, he just makes it work. And the biggest thing is that if he had Le'Veon Bell, he would throw to Le'Veon Bell more. He threw it to James Conner for 5 catches and 34 yards. And Le'Veon Bell would probably make some good plays. But it was all about what Big Ben did under pressure, because there was a lot of pressure coming in from those great defensive linemen that Tampa Bay has, especially Gerald McCoy and a guy like Jason Pierre-Paul coming off the edge. But he was able to adjust. This is a guy that obviously is going to scramble around, and he tells receivers, hey, if I'm running in this direction, I want you to fall this way so I can throw it, make it a first down. It's not conventional, but it's the way Big Ben plays. Big Ben made some big throws that are reminiscent of his clutch factor that we see from time to time. So it looked like a good Big Ben tonight, and I knew he wanted to get this victory because 0-1-1 was not a good start for the Steelers, and a lot of questions about this organization, and going out there and playing on a big stage was going to be a big test to viewers that maybe had not watched the first 2 Steeler games all the way through. So he wanted to prove that they are still the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and that they were going to come out there and win, and that's what he got done. He got that job accomplished tonight. Is the defense very concerning? Absolutely. I still have a lot of questions about that secondary. The defensive line got their job tonight, but their linebackers really struggled. They were putting pressure on there when they needed to fall back a couple of yards, and that's what got them some big yardage situations, in the middle of the field. Their secondary, I think, is not that good. Hayden came back. He made a little bit of a contribution, but not that much. And going forward, I think the Steelers are going to have to put up a lot of points in order to win games, and that's not a very healthy way. I mean, they gave up 21 to the Browns, which is not a big deal, but then they gave up 42 and now 27. They're going to have to play Joe Flacco and the Ravens next week in a big rivalry game. AFC North games are always very difficult to choose and very difficult to see, what exactly is going to go on. But when you're playing your rival, you got to play the best of your ability, and that's going to be a big game for them. The Bucs' schedule does not get any easier. They're going to play the Bears next week. The Bears barely squeezed out a victory against the Cardinals, which is a little concerning, but they were able to get the victory. So, again, I guess it really doesn't matter. But they're both 2-1, and they're playing in Chicago, so that's going to be an interesting matchup. After that, they play the Falcons, who are 1-2, but they played a really good game offensively against the New Orleans Saints. So I'm very interested to see that game. Let's go do some comments and any last question stuff here. Let's see. Predator says, hey, sweet things. Training Solutions, yo, what's up, yo? Good game, good week. Yes, it was a good week. Sebastian says, I'm happy that the Redskins beat the Packers because the Bears are number 1 in the NFC North. That is correct. Yeah, Packers and Vikings are 1-1. Detroit is 1-2. And the Bears are the only ones with a winning record at 2-1. So, good luck. Good job, Bears. And with the unfortunate news that Jimmy G is hurt for the year for the 49ers, it looks like the Bears are going to try to take that wild card or even bigger, the NFC North. That'd be great for them. Trading Solution says, I'd say Fitzmagic starts. Robot says, I think I went 8-8 in Pitts. Such garbage for me this week. Why couldn't you come back, Bucs? Yeah, I really wanted the Bucs to win. I think I had an under 500 record this week, so not a good week for me on picks. Picks this year have been very difficult. And there were a lot of upsets this week in particular. Titans beat the Jags 9-6, which fuck the Jags for that. Let's see. Drawing a blank here for some reason. Cardinals almost won. There you go. Bills beat the Vikings. Lions beat the Patriots, was even bigger upset than the Bills and the Vikings. And the Steelers came back close. So it was an interesting week overall. Bam Bam says, thoughts on Juju having more production than AB? The thing is that Big Ben has always wanted to go to AB. You know, the targets are still there. He had the most targets through 2 weeks. And how many targets did he have tonight, actually? I want to take a look. He had 6 catches, but I imagine he probably had 10 targets here. He had 9 targets. Okay. So 33, 90, 40. Wow, I cannot do math. 42 targets in 3 weeks. He's still getting them. It's just not, the chemistry is not exactly 100% as it was in the last couple of years, or the AB norm. Juju has just been one of those guys that likes to extend the field. He can make big plays. He had a 43-yard long catch that beat out the Buccaneers secondary. And it's not really like it's a big concern. I think their biggest concern right now on the offensive side is making sure that the run game is there, because James Conner had a great week 1 and a good week 2, but not a great week 3. So maybe it's trending down in the wrong direction, and they need to do something bigger going forward with that and get that going. But I like that Juju Smith-Schuster is getting a lot of targets and getting a lot of attention from Big Ben, because it shows that he's not going to rely on AB to get the biggest of yards or the biggest of plays. He's not a one-man train. He's going to go all the way around the field, and whatever makes the first down makes the first down. And Juju just happens to be the guy that goes downfield a lot, and that's what Big Ben likes. He likes taking shots. He likes going upfield with some 15, 20-yard throws, which I'm a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of this bubble screen crap. I like forward motion, especially when it's like 3rd and 8. Don't throw a 2-yard pass, Dak Prescott. I'm a Cowboys fan, so that's kind of the right thing. But, you know, like, I like seeing deep throws. I like seeing that kind of stuff, and Juju's just the guy that gets it done, especially in the slot position where he's lining up a lot more. So I don't have concerns about AB and his production right now. I just think it's a good opportunity for Juju to make some big plays and obviously get a little bit less attention off AB with the corners. The corners obviously be like, well, we got another guy we got to worry about, so we can't put 2-on-1 coverage on AB. So it's good stuff going forward for the Steelers. And their offense is not a concern for me besides their running game. It's that defense, and especially that secondary and linebacker crew. They got to step it up and make some better plays because, again, quarterbacks are going to look at it. I'm not a big fan of Joe Flacco, so I don't think he'll do very good next week. But against some of the better competition in the NFL, when they're going to have to play in big situations, they're going to have to really, step up their game, because they have not stepped up their game in the first 3 weeks of action. And I'm not a big fan of it personally. So Steelers 1-1-1. They'll play the Ravens at home on Sunday Night Football. Looking to do a live stream of that, hopefully. Cannot confirm it 100%. Buccaneers are going to be playing the Bears next week at Chicago. And that is going to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recap of the Steelers and the Bucs. Like the video. Comment below your thoughts. What do you think about the Steelers and the Bucs going forward? Actually, you know what? I'm going to do one more thing. I want to look at my fantasy football this week for the Bottom Line View, because it was a very interesting week for me personally. I was playing against AC, a guy you've seen once on this channel this season. And that was for week 1. Let's see. I'm trying to load this up here. He will be back on he's looking to be coming back on picks on Thursday, so that is good. Always good there. How many points did I actually made a couple of adjustments this week in terms of fantasy, and it's a really, I don't know how to evaluate this. So I started Fitzpatrick instead of Kirk Cousins. That ended up doing well for me because Kirk had 10 points. Ryan Fitzpatrick, even with 3 interceptions, had 25.1. So good shit. Theo Riddick had 6.6. The reason he's my number 1 right now is because J.J. was hurt this week, so I had to put him as my number 1. It really hurts to know that Theo Riddick was the number 1 running back. So I didn't have a guy on the bench to put a number running back 2, and this is a very strange story. So I went to the players selection to try to pick up somebody. I'm like, in a 16-man league, there's not going to be a lot of available options that sound enticing. But I did find somebody, Duke Johnson. I wanted to get Duke Johnson. I tried to add him and drop the Falcons defense, and it said you're not allowed to do this until September 26th, which I thought was bullshit. But what I think it was is because the Browns were playing on Thursday. I was trying to get them on Thursday, so the acquisition wasn't going to work. I don't know. I canceled it. Went to go for Wendell Smallwood. It said it accepted. Okay. And then Wendell Smallwood got 18.1 points. He got 56 rushing yards, a touchdown, 35 receiving yards, and 3 receptions. So I was like, fuck yeah, that works for me. Keenan Allen, biggest disappointment for me, 5.4 points. He had a fumble, which really hurt that point total. But I benched Calvin Ridley, and he had 40.5 points. So I would have absolutely fucking decimated AC if I put Calvin Ridley. But I wasn't going to put Calvin Ridley instead of Keenan Allen. Are you kidding me? Kenny Golladay still does very well. Liking his production, 17.3 last night with a touchdown. Gronk, a kind of disappointing game, 9.1, got the job done, but not very good. Will Fuller, another great game, 5 receptions, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Rams defense, 13 points. They got -1 for that total yards allowed, but they got a sack. The block, punt, and the touchdown really helped in points, but they got the done, and 2 fumble recoveries. And Tucker did very well. So I'm interested to see what I'm going to have to do next week because I have Robbie Anderson that I'm probably going to just let go and drop and get somebody else. Calvin Ridley might be a nice option. I might want to trade him or, get some assets for that because I need a running back position, and JJ is going to come there. Sebastian says, do you think the Raiders will get their first win over the Browns? Definitely an opportunity to get it over the Browns. I think Chucky is pissed right now, but Baker Mayfield, you never know. There is a chance. You'll have to see on Thursday whether if I pick the Browns or the Raiders, but I'm really interested to see how that game's going to play out. I think it'll be a fun one, and we'll see about that game. So thank you guys for watching. Like, comment below your thoughts on this game and the rest of the NFL from Week 3, and subscribe to The Bottom Line View. A lot of NFL content, streams, live streams and reactions, recaps to big primetime games, Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. We're a little bit close to 5,500 subscribers, so subscribe to the channel. We also got pick videos. We got Fantasy Stardom and Sit 'em from Mitch. We got news coverage, like we did the AB Trade Me rumors. So we do a lot of content on the NFL. Subscribe for it on the NFL, on the Bottom Line View, about the NFL. So subscribe, and you'll get all that great content here. I'm going to bow out. So thank you guys for watching, and peace out.